I'm Molly Sandbo, Director of Product Marketing here at Matillion, and I'm joined by my colleague Tom Ridings, Director of Product Management at Matillion. Today we're going to go through our presentation and give you some context on Matillion, how we're using push-down approach to transformation. Then we'll introduce you to our brand new feature, Unlimited Scale, and we'll wrap up with an exciting live demo from Tom. Let's start with the reason for Matillion's existence. Businesses are moving their data to the cloud, and that demand for data is increasing more and more. However, getting your data into the cloud from disparate sources and transforming it into a business-ready state is easier said than done. First, it's quite difficult to get your data from these different sources up into the cloud, and with more data means more demand from the business, putting pressure on the resources within the data teams that rely on slow processes like custom coding to build new connectors and data transformations. With Matillion's Data Productivity Cloud, we're helping organizations overcome these challenges. And we do this by helping everyone on the data team connect their data, get it to work, and put it back in the business to realize more value faster. Now let's go back in time and think to a time prior to the cloud data warehouse. Resources for compute and storage were limited, so we had to carefully consider what we were loading into the data warehouse. And ETL tools were standalone applications. Extracting, transforming, and loading had high resource requirements, so we carefully monitored the servers and the ETL jobs that they were running on to avoid overloads. In today's world, modern cloud warehouses have fundamentally changed how we design and build data warehouses. Compute and storage become on-demand, available commodities. This change gave us the opportunity to rethink how we design, build, and manage modern enterprise data stacks. And this introduction to cheap on-demand storage meant that we could store more and more data into the cloud data warehouse without fear of resource constraints or cost. And an important shift happened. Now we are able to perform our transformations within the data warehouse. And this means that we can load raw data into the warehouse without relying on an dedicated ETL server. And we call this approach to transformation pushdown. With Matillion, once you've designed your transformation job using the canvas and hit run job, we generate the SQL needed to execute your job and push down the SQL to the data warehouse for execution. Pushdown is a big part of how Matillion achieves incredible performance during transformation jobs without you having to worry about scaling up and down your Matillion instances. And there are tons of benefits to this pushdown approach. First, we're not moving data in and out of the warehouse, removing the performance impacts of any networking as well as the costs of ingress and egress. Secondly, how we write our pipeline changes. Rather than writing in complex Python, Spark, or Java, we're able to express our pipelines as SQL, which is much more commonly understood across data teams and users. Finally, our transformations can utilize the scaling capabilities of the warehouse without any additional overhead or costs. We simply pay for what we use and use what we want. Realize I should have been pushing play faster. And at Matillion, we go beyond just transformations. We leverage a series of services across the Data Productivity Cloud. These services help customers load data from their different data sources into the cloud, transform it based on the need of the business, synchronize that business-ready data back to data users, and orchestrate the management of data throughout their modern data stack. We've gone to great lengths to ensure the highest performance of the Matillion Data Productivity Cloud, but until now, the ability to scale Matillion up and down was rather limited. That's why today we're excited to talk to you about unlimited scale. Now you can reimagine how you design, execute, and scale Matillion jobs. With unlimited scale, we're introducing automatic scaling. So when you run large workloads, we can scale them up, run them quickly, and then scale them back down when they're finished without you having to touch a single button. And with automatic scaling, we fundamentally change how you consume Matillion credits. Unlimited scale means more granularity in consumption, allowing you only to pay for what you use. And we've spoken to many customers along the way, and one message has been very clear. You want all the benefits of SaaS without the cost of data localization. Now you get all the benefits of scaling and reduced management without your data ever leaving your cloud. So let's dive a little deeper into unlimited scale and see how it works. At the heart of unlimited scale is the ETL agent. ETL agents are designed to be serverless. If you need to run hundreds or thousands of concurrent database connections, we're not going to be the ones to get in your way. Running one agent for 10 minutes should cost you the same amount as running 10 agents for 1 hour. 1 hour and 1 hour. So the more parallelism we can design into our jobs, the faster they can run. And although our ETL agents are a rebuild of today's execution engine, we've been careful to ensure backwards compatibility so that the existing jobs will just work without having to redesign or refactor. And rather than choosing between self-hosted or full SaaS, unlimited scale is designed to give you the best of both worlds. Your jobs are published and scheduled from the Matillion hub, and they run the ETL agents within your own cloud. This hybrid setup gives you all the scaling benefits of SaaS without any of the management costs of self-hosting, and at the same time ensures all your data never leaves your cloud. Now I'm going to pass it over to Tom Ridings for the fun part. He'll show you a live demonstration of unlimited scale and how you can scale your concurrent jobs at speed while maintaining security and sovereignty without any of the infrastructure burden. All right, over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Molly. Do a technical switchover. So I'm going to introduce a scenario here that's based on a real life customer of Matillion's. We've made a few modifications, but it kind of holds pretty true. This customer runs a holiday letting review website. Customer users can log onto the website and leave reviews for their various holiday lettings. And the website is driven from a MySQL database with two primary tables in it, one for the listings and one for the reviews. And what we've got here in Matillion is an overnight job that we've designed that does a full refresh of the data from that application database into the warehouse. And for those that aren't familiar with Matillion, I can very easily run this job. And as you can see down here, this job is in the process of executing now, and it's going to go through and load, I think, roughly 2 million rows of data in this sort of simple setup that we've got here, and load that into the data warehouse for us overnight. But actually, our holiday letting website has been incredibly successful. And rather than just being present in one country, we've actually launched in multiple countries around the world. 32, in fact. And each of them has their own website with their own MySQL database. Now, we've had to change this a little bit. I've expanded the job in Matillion, because normally this would look like an iterator, but just so we can see what's going on, we're running that same job that we saw earlier, but for 32 different countries: the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, etc. Now, this would be a challenge for us typically with ETL software, because we'd have to have this growing infrastructure that constantly changes over time. We'd have to manage our schedules, etc., etc. So with unlimited scale, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to get access to on-demand serverless compute for our ETL. Very similar to before, I'm going to just run the job straight from within Matillion. I'm going to publish it to the agent and hit run. Now, if I jump into the status of this job, you can see that all of the different strands that we just saw in that the main design are all running at the same time here. Behind the scenes, we've got some magic going on. Matillion is recognizing that we have a high spike in demand and is automatically scaling up infrastructure for us to run the job. As this job is completed and the infrastructure is no longer needed, we're scaling it back down behind the scenes to give us this really elastic compute behind Matillion. Now, Molly mentioned earlier about hybrid architecture. Now, typically this sort of structure you see within SaaS applications, but we all know that in the data world, having sovereignty of our data and control over where that data is processed and moved is incredibly important. So Matillion Unlimited Scale offers a hybrid deployment. We can run this as a full SaaS application where Matillion hosts the infrastructure for you, but we also allow you to very easily set this infrastructure up within your own cloud environment and use different AWS services such as Fargate and EKS to give you the same scalability, all without lifting a finger. Now, you can see this job is just coming to a completion here. I think we've loaded about 64 million rows of data, and it should typically complete in about 2 minutes. So fingers crossed if the demo gods are right, we do see this complete. So if I drill into Canada here, you can see that we've got the listing table and we've got the review table, and coming together it's about 1.5 million rows of data there. Unlimited scale isn't just about parallelism of job or a single job, which is what we've seen here. It allows you to scale the infrastructure for your ETL in line with the business, and that's incredibly important for all of us. As our projects grow, our users grow, and our data volumes grow, having elastic infrastructure behind the scenes that can automatically handle those changing demands is incredibly important. And that's what we've got with Unlimited Scale. Now, I'm going to jump out the demo here, but we are available on the booth around the corner. I've got a few wrap-up slides to go through. Oh, that did not work. Fabulous. So Molly talked about the Matillion Data Productivity Cloud. We talked about loading data, transforming, syncing it, and orchestrating it across the entire stack. Matillion Unlimited Scale supports all of those different types of workload. It allows us to build a full enterprise data stack without having to have different choices in different areas, and it allows us elasticity on the compute without any manual intervention or kind of changing requirements constantly. But it's not the only thing that Matillion Data Productivity Cloud gives you. We have a whole suite of functionality and features available for you to use in that Data Productivity Cloud, and the agent runtime that you see at the bottom here is just one part of that. We also include standardized metadata across all of your jobs, centralized observability for the full breadth of all of your projects and all of your executions. And it really does give you the entire end-to-end package for what you need to run your data, to manage enterprise data. So I'd like to say thank you very much there. Unlimited Scale is currently in private preview, and if customers are interested in it, whether you're an existing Matillion ETL customer or you're just kind of looking to get started with your data stack, please do reach out to us. We have a booth just around the corner. I think you can practically see it from where you're sat. Do come speak to myself or Molly or any of the Matillion team. But I'd like to thank you all for attending and see you shortly. Goodbye.